It's hard to explore gaming news, browse Steam, or even scroll through Twitch, Mixer, or YouTube without seeing the words Battle Royale. Over the past year, it's become a term that's as recognizable as deathmatch or capture the flag when it comes to describing gameplay of new titles. It's a ubiquitous term, but its use immediately calls to mind two separate games: PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds and Fortnite. And while there are many out there that think this style of game is the freshest phenomenon, it's actually been simmering under the surface of game development for years. After the incredible success of PUBG and Fortnite, it has burst into the spotlight, its popularity propelled by developers big and small working to make the most of the trend. From movie inspirations, mods, and standalone successes, I'll be giving you a brief history of Battle Royale in games. I may miss out the obscure mod here or a knee-jerk title there, but if you're watching this between chicken dinners, this should give you a good grasp on how the Battle Royale phenomenon became to be.
Battle Royale.
The core concepts behind Battle Royale, namely participants being forced to fight to the death, the zones of danger, and the sole survivor being the victor, originates from the OG Battle Royale, a novel written by Koishun Takami that was later developed into 2000's epic movie Battle Royale, directed by Kinji Fukasaku. For anyone who's not seen the movie, what are you doing with your life? Go and watch it. Here's a quick breakdown. The film exists in a fascist Japan, with the government passing the BR Act to control Japan's unruly youth. As you can imagine, the BR Act revolves around a battle royale taking place. Middle school students are taken to an island, fitted with explosive collars, and given basic supplies and 3 days to fight to the death until one remains. Unclear if any chicken dinner was involved.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
The 2012 movie The Hunger Games, based on their own series of books, featured many themes similar to Battle Royale, from the dystopian government and fighting to the death, to the tense one-on-ones where you're rooting for the underdog. The two movies have many commonalities. However, Hunger Games brought the idea of a Battle Royale to a younger audience, made it more accessible, and added much more story and drama across 4 films. It was through these movies that we saw the first Battle Royale / Hunger Games style titles and mods emerge. Minecraft had more mods than my house had creeper holes. Shortly after the release of the Hunger Games, a Battle Royale mod named Hunger Games was released for Mojang's title. The name was later changed to Survival Games to avoid obvious legal issues. Personally, I remember watching the Minecraft series with folks like Ethos Lab, Pause and Pause, and BOO. They were my first introduction into the mod, even before I'd seen the Hunger Games movies. The formula between the game and the movie were very similar. 24 players would start near the center of the map, which housed chests and various equipment. You could choose to fight over that gear at the start, hoping for a diamond sword or some enchantments, or flee into the surrounding map to find other chests. Obviously, Minecraft is all about building, and while that aspect was taken out of the survival games, due to the relative ease in which people could use Minecraft to create incredible buildings and scenery, many maps were soon appearing on survival servers. These new maps introduced a great deal of variety, bringing huge dense forests to explore, cities and skyscrapers to fight over, deserts and tunnel systems to get lost in, puzzles and even platforming sections to reward you with the best loot. Also, you could be better equipped to fight the final battle and become the sole survivor. Minecraft was a game I used to play to relax, but this mode, despite its quaint appearance and simple gameplay core, could still create more exciting moments than defending your house from a charged creeper. It helped popularize an experience that would be built upon again and again over the years. The mode was later developed on for consoles in 2016 as the Minecraft Battle minigame. The player count was restricted to 8 and it featured a showdown mode at the end, but at its heart it was still the Hunger Games experience, all in a much blockier form. Originally, DayZ started as a personal project by Dean Hall, who created a persistent post-apocalyptic zombie-filled survival sandbox. But there's been a lot of changes since DayZ was born as an Arma 2 mod, and became a titan of the survival genre. The Battle Royale element came to the game the following year, with another mod to DayZ, a mod of a mod, if you will. It also served as a testing grounds for a name you'll recognize if you've been playing PUBG. Brendan Greene, aka PlayerUnknown himself, would make his first steps into the Battle Royale genre within DayZ. Greene would build the DayZ Battle Royale with the Japanese Battle Royale film in mind, using a newfound confidence in creating his own mods after spending some time managing and experimenting with level design in DayZ Cherno Plus. In DayZ Battle Royale, the starting locations would be similar to that of the Hunger Games, where players would be surrounding a pile of loot and have the choice to take a risk and nab themselves a backpack, or head into the hills and find weapons and supplies in the surrounding world. Instead of a zone of gas or electricity, the game would force you into the ending play zone by infinitely spawning zombies around you until you made it to the final circle. During development, Greene would experiment with players engaging with the game outside of the playable experience, firmly believing that a strong background was a hugely important factor to the success and excitement of a game. Towards this, he created this teaser image alongside a short story to generate excitement within the DayZ community. This move obviously worked well, and it would be a strategy Greene would continue to employ on follow-up projects. However, it was ultimately the memorable stories from its players' experiences within this game that attracted others to it. When DayZ went standalone, Brendan Greene would turn to Arma 3 to continue his work, and it's at this stage he began tying his work to the moniker PlayerUnknown. Being the newer game, Arma 3 generated a lot of attention and quickly established an active modding and creator scene. For PlayerUnknown, this allowed for quick iterations, alterations, and testing of new ideas. There are many aspects to the Arma 3 Battle Royale that would be familiar to anyone playing PUBG. Instead of the Hunger Games style spawning around a central area, players were dropped in from a plane and had to parachute into the play zone. Supply drops would appear in red and blue crates that were billowed with smoke, and the ever so recognizable Winner Winner Chicken Dinner was first used in the Arma 3 mod. Side note, Winner Winner Chicken Dinner is a term that I first heard in the terrible Las Vegas movie 21, but apparently originated from back alley craps games, the winner exclaiming Winner Winner Chicken Dinner, as it meant from their winnings they were able to afford chicken for dinner that night. PlayerUnknown would also go on to make new versions of this core idea within Arma 3, with mods like PlayerUnknown's Battle Royale War, PlayerUnknown's Street Fight, and the Iron Front Battle Royale mod, which took the same gameplay mechanics into World War II. The community took to it, with YouTubers like Frankie on PC using the Arma mods to tell unique and exciting stories, adding their personal spin to the Battle Royale events. Many more streamers and competitors also took part in the seasons of ranked events. The shared experiences between players and viewers would be a trend that would follow the whole genre, but also become crucial to it. Unfortunately, PlayerUnknown and the developers that came on board to support the Arma mods weren't making much money during its development, so I can imagine when Brendan was contacted by the then CEO of Sony Online Entertainment, John Smedley, that may have come as somewhat of a relief. This connection would be the first steps in creating H1Z1 and its Battle Royale mode, King of the Kill. H1Z1, or H1Z1 depending where you are, started life in a similar vein to DayZ, an open-world zombie survival game with elements of crafting and PvP. It was during its early development that John Smedley flew Brendan Greene to San Diego for talks to license PlayerUnknown's Battle Royale for use in H1Z1. The Battle Royale mode would be an official mod, but H1Z1 was a different beast to the more realistic Arma 3. It increased the player count to 150 and even featured a crafting system to allow combatants to create things like armor, bandages, bows, and arrows. Classic elements like the shrinking circle of damaging gas, parachuting into the play area, and scavenging weapons were still all present. In February of 2016, it was announced that H1Z1 was being split into two projects, with two dedicated development teams. The survival part of the game becoming Just Survive, and the Battle Royale mode taking on the name King of the Kill. As the game split, Brendan Greene would part ways with H1Z1. He would go on to comment that while he loves what H1Z1 has done with the game mode and the opportunities it provided him, it's not what he envisioned for his own version of the game. After he handed over complete control of the idea to H1Z1, he was able to focus on creating the experience he always wanted to craft. H1Z1 would finally leave early access on PC in February of 2018, pushing forward with its support of its competitive esports scene, officially launching its Season 1 as well as a car-based mode titled Auto Royale a few weeks later. Similar mechanics, but in cars. In a gaming landscape that had become saturated with open-world survival sandboxes, Ark Survival Evolved put its own spin on things by adding in dinosaurs. The core game revolved around establishing a base, building a fire, gathering weapons, food, and taming said dinosaurs. But more importantly to the story of Battle Royale, it would eventually feature a spin-off mode of its own. Titled Survival of the Fittest and released over a year later, this was marketed as a MOSA, a multiplayer online survival arena, an acronym that I refuse to use. Nevertheless, the game featured many of the Battle Royale trademarks. The servers that it was played on would feature special settings, with leveling, gathering, and taming taking place at a much faster rate, as well as having stats of dinosaurs and weapons being rebalanced. All of this was done to create a much faster rate of play, focusing on the action and PvP elements of the game. Buildings and supplies could be accumulated much quicker than in the core game, resulting in a much faster flow. The game went down the Hunger Games method of spawning. 72 players made up of tribes would spawn around a central island that was full of loot. You can risk being killed for supplies, or leg it into the jungle and fend for yourself. Crafting, base building, and creating a bunch of tames to assist you in combat was paramount for success, and experienced players would become adept at moving from bow combat to creating firearms in just a few dozen minutes. A zone of death would keep players moving into the central finale zone, rather than a zone that would slowly damage anyone stuck in it. It also featured evolution events to make the tournament more interesting, modifiers that would randomly occur like acid rain to drain health and armor durability, or daytime swap to switch the day-night cycle. There was also a big push towards esports. The original trailer featured caster commentary, and the game itself had survivor leagues that would compete over prize pools of over $50,000. But the last paid tournaments were last held in 2016, and unfortunately the player count seems to have dropped to unsustainable numbers. But in my opinion, Survival of the Fittest's efforts should be applauded. Studio Wildcard made a Battle Royale style of game that was genuinely interesting to watch at higher levels, with a constant ballet of building, crafting, combat, and, like I said, giant dinosaurs.
Next time on the Culling, you and 15 other contestants.
After being in early access for over a year, the Culling became many people's go-to Battle Royale experience. 16 players were given 20 minutes to explore, scavenge, craft, and kill, with, you guessed it, only one survivor standing. The Culling had an airdrop and, most notably, a perk system that helped it to stand out from other Battle Royale games, and also give players the opportunity to create unique builds tailored to a desired playstyle. Combatants favoring melee combat could call in drops with high-level spears and use perks to increase movement speed and backstab damage, or if you favored utility, you could take a perk that allowed you to craft items faster. The crafting system allowed players to also play in multiple ways. After you spawn, you can start punching trees and rocks, combining them into spears or knives or basic armor. Or you could head to the nearest building and take a risk to try finding higher level loot in lockers and hidden structures. Another unique feature was the Funk system. Funk standing for Flexible Universal Nano Compound. Obviously, Funk could be earned in-game and traded in for rewards or advantages during each match, activating gas tanks, hitting and killing opponents, or finding remains and barrels around the map. This could then be utilized to call in airdrops, spawn items, use medical stations, and more. There were also map events that would trigger throughout a match, as well as modifiers and mutators to add variety to a round. Events like the Shake and Bake made outside temperatures skyrocket, forcing players indoors and possibly into confrontations, or the 3-crate Monty, which would drop 3 crates into the game's center finale arena, but with 1 having loot and 2 exploding with on opening. The Culling leaned into the light-hearted game show style of presentation, with one of its design pillars being a streaming-friendly Battle Royale. Unfortunately, while the Culling started out strong, its player numbers started to drop off as a circle of competitors closed in. PlayerUnknown, or Brendan Green, has been a common name throughout this video, and for good reason, as he has helped champion the Battle Royale genre for years. PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds is the culmination of the experiences learned from the Armor mods as well as H1Z1. Around the same time Green left Sony Online, Chang-Han Kim of Bluehole presented the opportunity to work on a new Battle Royale concept. Within a week, Brendan would be flying out to Korea to discuss the opportunity for a new game in the genre, and weeks later taking on the role of creative director at Bluehole and moving to South Korea to oversee the development of his new project. After entering early access in March of 2017, PUBG drew a massive amount of attention, selling over 20 million units before the end of the year. In September of the same year, it broke the record for highest number of concurrent players on Steam, with over 1.3 million combatants looting their way through the maps at once. The game also represents what Brendan Green believes is the final version of the concept, bringing elements that he created during his mod work all together into this complete package. Erangel, the first map to be in the game, was created to give players multiple possible options and strategies. Dense cities, open fields, thick forests, and mountain peaks offer different styles of engagements, and are better suited for different gears and playstyles. In an interview with Rock Paper Shotgun, Green described the gameplay as being in 3 distinct layers. The airdrop, similar to his Arma 3 mod, involved players figuring out where it's best to go for the highest chance of success while also communicating with your team. Looting, knowing what items are, what's best to pick up in the current situation, and quickly navigating menus to prepare for combat. And the combat game itself, engaging with other players, picking your battles, moving into safe zones, and trying to secure the win. Streamers and content creators have been involved in PUBG from very early versions, which may go some way in explaining how the game blew up so quickly. Closed alpha and beta periods were used to gauge initial reactions and help to just balance before an early access release. The explosion of interest meant that Bluehole would have to reevaluate their production and release plan. Their initial expectations were that they would gain just enough players through early access to smooth out the gameplay, but the surge of players meant that more focus had to be put on stability to support over 1 million combatants. This led to the initial release date being pushed by a few months. It was a huge draw for viewers on sites like Twitch and YouTube before the game had even released, and naturally there was a big push to esports. Celebrating the game surpassing its 2 millionth copy sold, Bluehole announced a 2017 charity invitational with 128 players competing on Twitch to raise money for the game's Outreach Foundation. After the 2017 Gamescom Invitational surfaced some issues on the logistics of such a large event, Bluehole opted to work with ESL to make running Pro PUBG manageable and adapt it into a format that is interesting to spectators. In October of 2017, the China Audio, Video and Digital Publishing Association issued a statement that discouraged Battle Royale style games as they were too violent and deviated from Chinese values of socialism. This, however, didn't dissuade Chinese players from dropping into Miramar or Erangel. Many were using proxies or virtual private networks as they were unable to easily acquire the game in China. To secure publishing in other areas of the Asian market like Korea, Bluehole had to tone down the violence, which was done by changing the color of blood to blue, a change that some players added to their games in Western regions too, believing that the blue mist was much easier to see and therefore served as an extra small advantage. An Xbox One and mobile version of the game would follow the Windows release. One advantage that PUBG had by joining the Xbox Game Preview program is that it also got the benefit of incorporating technology and systems from other developers under Microsoft's banner. The Sea of Thieves team even lended their water rendering technology to Bluehole, allowing PUBG to better present the shores around Erangel. PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds has firmly cemented itself as a titan of the genre and a pillar of Battle Royale games. It even enjoyed its status as King of the Hill for a time. But on September 26, 2017, an unexpected contender to the throne appeared.
Hey, put the camera down, man. It's showtime.
All right, clear!
In 2011, former Epic design director Cliff Bleszinski introduced a trailer for a game that was something in a style previously unexplored by the studio. Fortnite was born as a co-op survival sandbox game that released into early access in July 2017. Fortnite is set on an Earth where 98% of the world's population disappears, and shambling creatures rise to attack the surviving members of humanity. Players have to build, scavenge, and craft to defend their objectives and try to weather the storm. But while the original game launched to a middling fanfare, its Battle Royale mode would propel the name Fortnite into the skies above any storm. Their free-to-play Battle Royale mode arrived as an early access title for Windows, Mac, PS4, and Xbox One in September of 2017, with the mobile version following much later. According to Epic creative director Donald Mustard, the staff in the studio were big Battle Royale fans, with many of them even playing PUBG and wanting to experiment if Fortnite could serve as a good foundation for the game mode. To try and ensure it had a healthy growth next to PUBG, the game was released as free-to-play, supported by microtransactions in the form of V-Bucks, which allowed players to purchase skins and Battle Pass challenges. The basics of the new mode were developed in just 2 months, starting after the Save the World mode had shipped. Any complex features that weren't already in place were saved until the backbone of the game was in solid, and they already had an enjoyable experience to build upon. Shortly after the announcement though, Bluehole issued a statement calling out similarities between PUBG and Fortnite, as well as a lack of communication with Epic. This, they felt, was an issue, as Epic is the creator of the Unreal Engine 4, the engine that Bluehole licensed to build Battlegrounds. Bluehole's Chang-Han Kim wrote, "After listening to the growing feedback from our community and reviewing the gameplay for ourselves, we are concerned that Fortnite may be replicating the experience for which PUBG is known. We've also noticed that Epic Games references PUBG in the promotion of Fortnite to their community and in communications with the press." Chang-Han Kim continued, "This was never discussed with us and we don't feel that it's right." Bluehole also went on to threaten further action, but thankfully nothing has come of the threat. And while there are players like me that enjoy both titles, or many out there that gravitate to one title in particular, there would always be a rivalry between these two games simmering under the surface. Fortnite is also a game that's had incredible successes outside of the game itself, becoming just as much of a shared experience online as it was a personal one. Streamers like Ninja have shared hundreds of their games with a passionate audience, at one point even being joined by hip-hop artist Drake for a few rounds. And if a titan of hip-hop wasn't enough, Fortnite also added another mad titan in the form of the Avengers Infinity War event, allowing players to fight for the Infinity Gauntlet and become Thanos himself. The shared experience that Fortnite is creating is also helping it break records of its own. Spanish YouTuber El Rubius OMG organized an event with 99 other YouTubers on March 25th. That live stream peaked at a record-breaking 1.1 million concurrent viewers, a record for live streams that was previously held by Ninja's stream with Drake on Twitch. And for breaking the record for most videos uploaded in a month on a single game, Fortnite may also be close to dethroning Minecraft and becoming the most viewed game on that platform. Not built from wood, stone, or steel, Epic used streamers and content creators to build their Battle Royale experience into the titan the genre it quickly became. But while PUBG and Fortnite battle it out to be crowned king of Battle Royale, developers aren't being put off the idea of rising up themselves and being counted among the best of Battle Royale. There are plenty of early access titles that are trying to make the most of the Battle Royale craze. SOS, The Ultimate Escape, has pivoted away from their artifact gathering gameplay elements to focus more on Battle Royale. The Darwin Project is attempting to stand on its own by using audience participation and its director and spectator interactions. And while it is unfortunate that Boss Key is now shut down, they made a really good go at breaking into the genre with their larger-than-life retro stylings of Radical Heights. Not to be outdone by smaller studios, Black Ops 4 is having a Battle Royale mode of its own, and if rumours are to be believed, Battlefield and even Red Dead Redemption 2 are reportedly experimenting with the Battle Royale formula. Many have responded to these rumours with disdain, feeling as if too many games are leaning into the current hot trend. Personally though, I'm very excited. I'm a firm believer that competition can create a better product, and would be super interested in seeing what other studios can do with this formula. But I want to know what you think, so let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, or if I've missed out your favourite Battle Royale moment, feel free to shout at me on Twitter. I'm at IrregularDave. But if you like the video, make sure you hit that like button and tell us what history ofs you'd like to see next. Now I have to go because the zone is slowly closing in, but until the next time, stay safe, loot well, and I will see you in the next one.